Hello, welcome to Serving the Valley, a Cedar Falls television production that gets you up close and personal to what really makes this part of Iowa kind of nice to call home. My name's Roy Justice. I'll be with you for the next several minutes as we today RSVP. Yes, we will. That stands for Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. I know that because I found that on the internet. Also, we're going to talk about SHIIP, S-H-I-P. That, we will explain, is Senior Health Insurance Information Program. All of that is on my agenda. And you are lucky because you don't have to just listen to me. Joining me for the program are the folks who are going to educate us in the next several minutes. The manager and director for RSVP has joined us in the studio, Sheila Bohr. Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
And Ruth Buck has joined her as well. Ruth is the outreach coordinator for RSVP. And the other male in the studio is a volunteer with SHIP, with SHIIP. And that is Mick Reifstack. Hi, Mick.
Hello.
For full disclosure purposes, I'll need to let you know, if we had time, quite frankly, Mick and I could fill the next several minutes, actually hours, on how he and I used to terrorize our classmates at Cedar Falls High School just a few years ago. That's back when we both had hair. Thank goodness we don't have enough time for all of that, but we do have plenty of time for Sheila and Ruth, and actually Mick as well, to talk about RSVP first, SHIIP a little bit more in detail, and volunteerism in general. Because if you're looking for a place that you think may need some help, we've got the answer for you. Sheila, let's start first of all with RSVP. How did RSVP come about in the first place?
Well, RSVP projects, which are nationwide, was started in 1972. 13 pilot projects went across the country. And they were very successful, obviously, and the federal government continued to put money toward establishing these projects. So in Iowa to date, we have about 19 projects, many of them multiple counties.
Okay. So we're talking primarily with Black Hawk County here, but I know your agency also, not long ago, picked up an additional county.
Yes, about 10 years ago, we picked up Fayette County, but we're pretty focused right now on the Old Wine area in their schools and their community.
There are a few projects we're going to spend some time actually in somewhat detail talking about, and one of those that Ruth brought to my attention not too long ago in a service club presentation that both of these ladies did, and that was all about these mailings that we get, usually in the, well, I get mine year-round, I think. I keep opening up envelopes and saying, is that something I should be paying attention to now? One of those is the healthcare benefits, much in the news of late, either fortunately or unfortunately as the case may be, and we won't get into those issues, but we will talk about what's important when you get those mailings. And we're talking about enrollment periods and enrollment times in the programs. And that's an area that Mick has some experience in as well, is it not, Mick?
That's true.
And that's the SHIIP program?
That's the SHIIP program.
And what are the problems that are involved with the SHIIP program? Not the program itself, but the problems people like myself have with it.
Well, I see an awfully lot of concern about the amount of mail that senior citizens receive as they approach the age of 65. They are so confused about what they should do with the Medicare situation, and we can ease their mind if they would come in and talk with a SHIIP counselor. Once we get done, they seem to be fairly satisfied that they knew the direction that they want to go.
Well, one of the things that I got in the mail was this, and that is the Medicare and You for 2017. I'm sure there's going to be one for 2018 and 2019 and so forth. Very detailed. This is our government at work?
That's true.
Ruth, explain this a little bit to me. What should I be paying attention to in the booklet?
Well, basically, the preventive benefits that Medicare has for their beneficiaries. It kind of gives the rules, who's eligible for Medicare, how you enroll in Medicare, and again, the different things that are covered by Medicare. Medicare doesn't cover everything.
Right.
And you have a share in the expense of Medicare, and how you take care of that share is sort of up to you. You have many options.
One of those options you have is the supplemental.
Correct. People can choose to purchase supplemental insurance. It's like car insurance, homeowners insurance.
Okay.
And it fills in the gaps of Medicare, so sometimes it's called Medigap insurance. And that's up to people. That is one of the options. And depending upon the plan of supplemental insurance you choose, it can fill in all the gaps or part of the gaps.
Are there choices in Iowa for the plan that you get?
Yes, there are 10 standardized plans
Okay.
of supplemental insurance to choose from. The benefits are standardized, which means that all the companies that are selling those plans are selling the same thing.
Okay.
And the difference could be the cost and
Right.
how they raise their rates.
Okay, so the letter that comes to my mind immediately is Plan F, which seems to be the one that most of my neighbors say they chose. So what's so special about Plan F?
Well, Plan F is the most comprehensive. It fills in all the gaps of Medicare. If you have an F plan, Medicare pays first, and then your supplement, your F plan pays second. It takes care of the deductibles for A and B, and the 20% for co-insurance for Part B that Medicare doesn't pay.
Okay, I don't want to get too deep into this
Right.
because we may lose most of the audience. But let's talk for a second, however, about your agency does not sell.
That's correct. The SHIIP volunteers do not sell anything. This is a free confidential service. We don't recommend anything. We don't give advice. We give you the information that you need to make an informed decision.
Okay. Mick, I'm going to pick on you just a minute because it's kind of fun to pick on
All
Mick.
right.
When you have someone who walks in with the booklet and all these papers and all, first of all, you have to separate them all out and get to the good stuff. What's the good stuff?
Well, the good stuff is the direction and the plan that we think you should take, not what company you should be with or what plan that you want. Those are your choices. But I guess I suggest many times to set all the paperwork or the mail aside at this
Okay.
point while we're talking. That's
Yes.
it. And then we can discuss the Medicare system, whether it's Part A, Part B, or Part D, or whatever the case may be. And then we can give you maybe a 3 or 4 step plan as to the direction that you can go. My 3 or 4 step plan is perhaps different than other counselors, but it will give you whether it's a supplemental plan you want, or whether it's a drug plan you want, whether it's a Medicare Advantage plan that you might want. But let's push that paperwork aside, and when we get done talking, you can pick up some of that material and support our conversation.
We have people of various ages watching this program. Some who are saying, oh, that's so far away from me right now, why do I need to be paying attention to it? But I bet you they have a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa who may be involved in that kind of decision-making process and may be looking for a little help. So is there a charge for the service that you folks provide?
No, it is a free service.
So who's picking up the tab?
Well, we're fortunate. We utilize volunteers, skilled volunteers that are trained. The training comes from our state office in Des Moines, the state SHIIP office in Des Moines. They do the training, and they do the background checks and things like that on the volunteers. So we get a lot of help that way. And of course, our sponsor, Covenant Medical Center, plays a key role in our facility utilizing those resources.
Okay, so speaking of that, and I should have said that at the beginning because they're a very important link in what all that takes place with RSVP and SHIIP. Where are you? Physically, where are you when you're doing your stuff?
The RSVP office is located at 2101 Kimball Avenue. Our suite number is 121. And the SHIIP counseling takes place in that building. We have several rooms that we can utilize for the one-to-one counseling sessions. So they have privacy. It's not like you're out in the open. It's not like you're in a room filled with other people.
Okay. One point I can't remember when I got this mailing that I set aside, because Mick said I should set it aside. But you're in business, so to speak, Mick, all year long, aren't you, with advice that you may be working with people who are running into problems with this?
Well, this is true. The open enrollment period for Medicare is the 15th of October through the 7th of December. That's when we really are busy enrolling people in maybe supplemental, mostly drug plans and so forth. But, you know, people don't just have a one-time-a-year event. They turn 65 in January, February, right through the rest of the year, or they're approaching that age and they need the information. So we're busy year-round with the Senior Health Insurance Program.
So you're available for these private confidential meetings all year long?
Yes, I am, and as well as the other counselors. I'm not sure how many counselors we have at this point, Ruth, maybe 14, somewhere around that area, but most of the information comes to Ruth. She funnels it out to the volunteers and the counselors. We call the clients, make appointments, and then we meet with them to discuss whatever they want to discuss regarding the Medicare.
Okay. I don't want to get any further into this program before I demonstrate something to Ruth. I take from my billfold my Medicare card. Oh, wait a minute. My Medicare card. I take from my billfold. Ruth, I don't have my Medicare card.
Have you put it in a safe place?
I have done that, ma'am, because I heard you talk. And your first instructions to the group I was in at that time was, show me your Medicare card, or do you all have your Medicare card? And I said, uh-oh, I don't think I've got it. I did actually at that time have it. I don't have it anymore. Why don't I carry it with me?
Because of identity theft. And I might mention that your Medicare card contains your Social Security number or your spouse's Social Security number. And that's going to change.
Oh.
April of 2018, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid are going to start replacing Medicare cards. They're going to take off your Social Security number and put a different identification number on it. And that mailing is going to start April of 2018, and it's going to continue for a year. It's going to be spread out over a year.
Okay, the replacement process.
Yes, the replacement process.
Okay, and the reason for that?
Identity theft.
Ah, makes sense. They've been listening to you.
Yes, yes. And providers will take both your old Medicare card and the new one, because not everybody's going to get their card at the same time.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Well, we've kind of covered that a little bit. We'll probably come back to it again. And I'm sure glad when I looked in my billfold, I did not have my Medicare card. So 1 point for me. There's a lot that this organization is involved with. I mean, an awful lot. We don't have time to get it all in, but some of the more important things that chronologically, or as far as this time of the year is concerned, and actually we haven't even touched on how you can get involved with these agencies as well. That's all coming up. As a matter of fact, there's a little more information about all of that right here.
Good morning, Sharon. Don't you just love getting packages in the mail?
I can hardly wait to open this package and read my new free cookbook written for diabetics.
That sounds great. How did you hear about it?
Last week I received a phone call telling me that managing my diabetes required the right combination between medicine and eating healthy foods. The caller said he would send me a cookbook filled with delicious recipes specifically designed for diabetics. All I had to do was give him some information.
Did you give him your Medicare number? I heard the Senior Medicare Patrol talk about this. It could be a scam.
Well, yes, I did.
You'd better check your next Medicare summary notice very carefully. I'll bet that caller charged Medicare for some medical equipment that you never received.
If you get caught in this Medicare scam, call Iowa Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-800-423-2449.
We are serving the Valley. We're doing it at this very minute, and thanks for sticking around and joining us. We have some people here from RSVP and SHIIP. If you missed the definition of those, I'll go back to those in just a minute. Volunteer. Do you need a definition of what a volunteer is? For RSVP and SHIIP, let's talk to the experts. Sheila, what's a volunteer do with RSVP?
Well, there's several different opportunities, but I think an important thing with RSVP is we try to meet community needs that are specific to our area, and we also want the experience to be enjoyable, rewarding to the volunteer. So we really have the volunteer in mind too. There's so many different activities out there, so many different needs. We are very active with the schools in Waterloo, and with literacy. That's key to our corporation, our federal corporation, which I mentioned earlier, is education, literacy, improving reading scores. There's a big need there. There's also a big need for mentors. And mentoring comes in, excuse me, a lot of different ways. Big Brothers Big Sisters, they do mentoring. The Job Foundation does a mentoring. It's based on improving your financial skills. So as you grow, you grow knowing about being responsible with your money and what all that entails. We have care facilities in the area that are always looking for volunteers, be it friendly visiting, be it with activities, various things like that. Food bank, huge need in the food bank. And I have to say, meal delivery in the Cedar Valley area. There's always a need for people to deliver meals. They maybe can do it on a regular basis, or they might do it as a substitute, when somebody's off, and that just do the fill-in sort of thing there. And then one thing that another program RSVP is very engaged in is the tax program. And we have 5 sites that we coordinate. 4 of them are in the Waterloo, Cedar Falls area, and we have one in Oldwine and one in Independence.
Now, when do those tax sites actually open up?
We usually start taxes either the last week of January or first week of February.
Okay.
It kind of depends on how the calendars actually fall. But we actually start the tax process, training, recruiting, getting everybody qualified to do taxes. We'll start that this fall. We'll do a kickoff to bring everybody together, and then talk about the training and talk about how things will be rolling out for this next tax season.
Okay. I know that there are some people out there that perhaps have entered into that retirement period of time, and they're looking for something. They're looking to get started in something. They're not quite sure maybe what involvement they want, but they want the menu. And I guess what I'm talking about here and hearing you reply to is, if they want to get back into something, look at our menu. You can start with an appetizer before you get to the entree. But that list of what is available for those folks here in Black Hawk County is pretty extensive.
Oh, yeah, and it probably goes well beyond that. We just can give you some general ideas. I like to talk with new volunteers, like one-to-one. What's your background? Where are your interests? Some people, and I'll use like school teachers, retired school teachers,
Sure.
Some come in and saying, I've done that, I want to try something different. Others come in and saying, no, I'd really like to work with the kids again. So it just varies person to person, and I like to get to know what their schedules are like, what they're willing to get involved in. Oftentimes when people retire, they kind of want to take it all, and really get involved. And it really has been my experience, just kind of go at it slow. Try things, and then maybe add on.
Mick, I want to get back to Mick for just a second, because I happen to know that Mick's calendar was loaded when he was back in his working uniform, so to speak. You had it not only 9 to 5 for sure, but it was 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9 and then 9 to 5 and 5 to 9. Mick was involved in law enforcement for how many years?
35 years.
35 years. You kept it up till you got it right.
That's right.
And then, did you go immediately into retirement and said, I've had enough of this, that's all, I'm going to rest for a while? Or did it take a while before volunteerism came to your mind?
Well, once I retired, I did get into some volunteer work. One is mediation of small claim cases.
Back in the courts?
Yes.
Oh my.
You know, I mean, that was my background,
Sure.
so to speak. And but I still worked for money, so to speak, after retirement. And then after I retired, I had some free time, and I thought, well, you know, I'm looking for something to do. And I contacted Ruth, and you know, unfortunately or fortunately, Ruth says, "Hey, come on down. I can put you to work." And that's where I got involved in the SHIIP program.
Okay. Ruth, let's talk about those volunteers. The need, I heard the mention before, the various agencies that maybe are in need of some help right now. Where's the biggest need right now in Black Hawk County?
Well, definitely the school system.
Okay.
And mentoring in the school system. As far as SHIIP goes, currently we have 14 trained counselors, and so we're probably at the saturation point right now.
Right.
But life changes for people,
Sure.
so you know, I'll be replacing people as we go along.
And that meal delivery system.
Yes, they're always looking for meal delivery.
Okay, I think one thing, I knew a person in another community that had been doing that for a long, long time, thoroughly enjoyed it. It wasn't just the fact they were delivering nourishment to people who were expecting their meals, but it was the relationship they built up with those
Yes.
individuals. There was a lot of friendliness going on, so to speak.
Sometimes that's the only contact that person has.
True, I was going there next. Loneliness is not the kind of thing you want on the menu.
That's
No.
right.
Yeah, look for that volunteer to show up with that meal. Very important. Ruth, you have paper in your hand, and I'm not sure I've touched on a question that led you to what I wish he would have asked me. What would that question have been?
Well, I think it's the overwhelming fact that our population is aging. And by 2040, about 20% of us are going to be Medicare beneficiaries. So, you know, SHIIP is going to continue to be an important role for volunteers and for Medicare beneficiaries. And we all, of course, want to know what's going on now. SHIIP, one of the big things about SHIIP is that we do save people money, which I don't think people realize. Every year you get a chance to change your drug plan because the drug plans change.
True.
And last year in 2016, our SHIIP volunteers saved people almost $500,000.
Wow.
Over the, you know, we saw probably close to 2,000 people during the open enrollment. So, yeah, we do save people money.
Even though that mailing has not come, is there some kind of preparation that people could be doing in advance, if nothing else, looking back on what they currently have and maybe doing a little better job of understanding what it is they currently
What they have,
hold?
correct. The most important thing is people sometimes don't open their mail.
Yes.
And granted, when you turn 65, you get quite a bit of mail, but you get quite a bit of mail all year long. You get your monthly summary from Medicare about the procedures you've had, and it's
Yes.
important to look at that. It's important to look at anything from Social Security or from CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. And if people don't understand what they're getting in the mail, they can certainly bring it into us and we can explain it to them.
Let me give you an example. I'm glad you brought that up. On a statement, doesn't matter who it happened to be that received this statement in my mail as I opened the envelope, but there was a name in that statement I did not recognize. It even said Dr. somebody or other. Does that happen quite often, and why?
Yes, it does. You're looking at your Medicare summary notice.
Yes.
And a lot of times when you go for a procedure or when you go just for a visit with your doctor, they'll order a test, and there's
Okay.
someone reading that test, and you don't know who that is.
No, I
you
didn't
don't
know who that
recognize
was.
that name.
Okay.
So it's important to check on that, and it always gives a date of service. So if you know that you visited your doctor that day and you had a blood test or an X-ray, likely that's the person that read that test.
So should I be calling my doctor to ask them, or should I be calling your agency?
We can certainly help you look into that.
Okay.
Your provider, though, would be able to tell you generally, but sometimes they don't know either who actually reads something.
Okay.
But there is a way to follow up on it.
Another thing that was confusing to me when I first started getting these statements was it shows what somebody was paying, what the charges were, what somebody was paying, and then what my plan was paying. And I got to thinking, you don't suppose there's anybody out there that actually charges you more because they know they're going to get less? Has that ever happened? You don't have to use any names.
Well, I'm sure there's, Medicare has an assigned fee for what they're going to pay for a procedure.
Okay.
Okay? And that's usually less than what an insurance company would pay for an employed
Correct.
person.
Yes.
So, it's hard to kind of justify, yes, there's a cost for that procedure. Medicare is going to pay a certain amount for that procedure. And I don't think you can compare it. Unfortunately, hospitals have to write off quite a bit also.
We've heard that happening from time to time as well.
Yes.
This whole healthcare thing, well, that's
not
a
go
whole
there.
nother show.
Let's not
That's
go
a
there.
whole nother show. Again, questions about anything you've heard us discussing. Sheila, Ruth, and Nick would love to hear from you, and how to make contact with them is on the screen right now. They would love to visit with you. Of course, it's all confidential. Maybe it's just something that we just said that touched onto something you'd like to have more information about. There's the place to contact right there. Right now, I want to say thank you to Sheila and Ruth and Nick for joining us today, sharing their knowledge with us. It's all about what we do here, serving the Valley. I'm Roy Justice.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing.
I was very independent and thought I could take care of myself. I fell and I had to have Meals on Wheels.
After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak.
Meals on Wheels coming to my door as someone who's housebound, having someone check on me, assures me that I'm not forgotten.
Meals on Wheels has given me a mode of freedom that I wouldn't have otherwise.
We're the clients.
We are the clients.
We are the clients of Meals on Wheels.
America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.